Hey guys, okay, this is a video about the Sega Saturn SNK games and the graphical glitches that you might have experienced in some of these games. I want to tell you about why this happens and really how to avoid it. So let's take a start by looking at the different RAM expansion carts you get for the Sega Saturn. You get three different kinds of RAM expansion, and what RAM is essentially, it stands for Random Access Memory, which basically allow when these carts are plugged into the console. For SNK games particularly, a lot of them need a minimum of 1 MB additional RAM to even run, and if you plug them in, you find you'll get like an error saying you need to plug in a RAM pack. So the RAM pack allows the games to run, but also in real time it kind of allows it to access more data in terms of character sprites and to boost the performance of these games. So the first one you have is this is a third-party RAM card. So this is what most people are going to be using, especially if you don't have a Japanese Saturn console. An action replay allows cheats to be used, as well as providing both 1 MB and 4 MB RAM expansion. And the way it does this is it's kind of designed to kind of read and utilize the required memory for the desired game. So it can switch between on the fly between 1 MB and 4 MB of RAM. So it has both features built in to this cartridge. This is a 4 MB RAM expansion cart. Now, this particular cart was actually, how should I say? It was, I wouldn't say designed, but it was. It's basically utilized for the Capcom games. So all the kind of X-Men versus Street Fighter games, Street Fighter 03. Capcom wanted this cartridge created for use with their games, and this one here, this is the 1 MB RAM cart. Now, in turn, like Capcom did, this was designed and put forward by SNK for use with their games. So basically, in terms of the when you're playing Sega Saturn games, if you're playing if you're playing Capcom games, you really should be using 4 MB, or you could use this. And when you're playing SNK games, you really should be using only the 1 MB RAM expansion. Now, just to cut a long story short, this is basically why you get those graphical glitches in games. You should be using this 1 MB, well, with the SNK games, you should be using the 1 MB RAM expansion. And just as a side note, the reason I've got Metal Slug here is that a lot of people complain about this slowdown in certain sections of the game. So being an SNK game, this is really designed to be utilized with this 1 MB RAM pack. So if you've never played Metal Slug on the Sega Saturn, I mean, if you're playing it on import and you've got a PAL Saturn, you'll be using this Action Replay Plus card, which for a lot of the SNK games, it doesn't work. The 1 MB, 4 MB switching that it should do to determine which game needs the required memory expansion, it doesn't work for a lot of games, and in particular Metal Slug. So Metal Slug, it won't read that Metal Slug only requires a 1 MB RAM expansion. So the switching mechanism on this cartridge doesn't work for this game, is what I'm trying to say. So you should be using 1 MB with Metal Slug. Now, if you don't have a Japanese Sega Saturn, that's going to be a problem. You're obviously, everyone who's got a PAL Saturn is playing imports with this cartridge here. So if you play Metal Slug with this cartridge on your Japanese Saturn, you're going to find it plays a lot more like the arcade game, because it has even the Neo Geo, the arcade version has minimal slowdown, as this will have in certain sections. but not as badly as if you play with a 4 megabyte RAM card. So make sure if you're playing Metal Slug, you're using this cartridge, 1 megabyte RAM expansion, because the switching that this is supposed to do between 1 meg and 4 meg, it doesn't work. So I took a long time to say that, but I hope you get the point. Let's look at some of the games now. Okay, so I've got 2 piles of games here. This pile here is games that really don't have any graphical glitching at all. Now, if you find graphical glitching in your SNK games, I've tested this on all types of Saturn. I've tested it on the skeleton Saturn. I've got the white Japanese Sega Saturn. I've tested it on that. I've tested it on the grey Japanese Saturn. I don't have a PAL console, so I haven't tested it on that. So I'm just talking about Sega Japanese Saturn consoles at this time. Okay, so no graphical glitching on any of these games when you use either 4 megabyte or 1 megabyte. Obviously, if it's SNK, really probably best to use 1 megabyte. But if you're using the Action Replay with these games here, you're not going to find any graphical glitches. These are the games that you're going to get graphical glitches with, mainly on the Saturn. So if you've got any of these 3 games, you've got Real Bout here, Samurai Showdown or Samurai Spirits 4, and King of Fighters 96. So with these 3 games in particular, you should be using the 1 megabyte RAM expansion, okay? So if you're, like I say, with a lot of people who are going to be playing import games, they're going to be using this cartridge. Now, because again, this cartridge for these games, the 1 megabyte, 4 megabyte feature for switching doesn't work. I mean, this is a third-party created device. It's not officially endorsed by SNK or Capcom, as is this. So I guess whatever feature they kind of designed for it doesn't really work with these games. So unfortunately, that's why you're going to get graphical glitches during the gameplay with the sprites. So your really only option is to either mod your Saturn for region or just buy a Japanese Saturn. I'm not sure about emulation. I've never tried Sega Saturn emulation really with this. So I'm just talking about actual hardware, okay? So you really need to be playing and using the 1 megabyte RAM expansion for these 3 games. So it's not anything to do with your type of Sega Saturn you've got. If you've got graphical glitching in any of your SNK games, make sure you're using the correct megabyte RAM expansion card, which is this one here, okay? This is the Capcom one, so this is for use with the, obviously, like I said, the Capcom games. So, you know, Metal Slug, SNK, and these 3 games here use the 1 megabyte. I hope I'm kind of making sense here, but that's pretty much all I wanted to say in this video. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.